I was born and bred in the mountains. My dad was a mountain guide, and I was literally born under the highest mountain in New Zealand, and so I kind of feel like climbing's always been in my blood. But I ignored that for a lot of my upbringing. We moved away from the mountains. I began horse riding. That was my passion throughout school, and I was really dedicated to that. Took that a long way. I did competitions a lot. And then when I was 16, I went back to Mount Cook, where I was born, and got a job as working in the cafe for Alpine Guides, the guiding organisation that my dad used to work for. And I took a course and got into alpine climbing. And that immediately just felt really good. Like, I loved being in the mountains. I loved being out in that environment, and continued doing that throughout the next year at school. And then returned the next summer for another summer working there. And that year in the mountains, it was really bad weather, and some friends took me rock climbing. And it was this instant love. Like, I just loved the challenge, loved moving over rock, and got really into it. Every weekend that next year, I'd steal my mum's car and drive 3 hours to the closest crag. I was doing pull-ups on door frames, anything I could do to get strong. And I was really dedicated to it. But then when I finished school, I moved back down to the South Island of New Zealand and took up climbing some more, but also got it really back into skiing, which again I've been doing all my life, but at that point I took it up to the degree that I could without having to go to school and having my own, doing what I could do. And got super into free skiing, like big mountain extreme skiing. Started competing with that, and because of that I dropped climbing and followed winters around the world. Lived for skiing, started taking that almost professionally. Started getting some contacts with companies, getting skis for free, and I was really psyched on that. And decided one winter to go over to Colorado, and had a job at a mountain shop there, and was going to go on the free skiing circuit of competitions. And really early into it, it was before a competition, I was just skiing on the piste in a hurry to get down to the bottom so we could get back on the lift to get to the top for this ski across race. And I was following a friend, and we were just booting it down the mountain super fast. And he took a turn, like just on one of the ski tracks, he took a turn off to the left. And I was on his heels, followed him around this turn, and then he stopped, realising it was the wrong turn. And in that split second in my mind, I thought somehow that I could just jump the corner in between the two tracks and land on the other track and keep going. That went wildly wrong. Apparently that was really wrong in my mind. And the end result was I didn't try to stop or slow down. I just turned and went straight off. Like, there was massive trees down there, big drop off. I just flew into space. Luckily I was good enough in the air and managed to, in that split second when I realised that everything was going to go bad, I turned myself and hit the tree that was looming in front of me, feet first. At some point, I don't know how long later, but I woke up. I had knocked myself out. I woke up as Ski Patrol was trying to move me into a sled, dazed and confused and kind of wondering what was going on. And then I was not too worried about it. I was like, oh, sweet, I've always wondered what would happen when I, wanted to know what it was like to be taking one of these little sleds down, because I'd worked with a lot of my friends with Ski Patrol. I was kind of psyched on it all. Oh, yeah, I can get in there. I don't need oxygen, me, what are you talking about? Only part way down did I realise that a tooth was hanging sideways out of my mouth, and when they started trying to take my ski boots off, I realised that there was something kind of majorly wrong with my feet as well. The end result was that I'd a double fracture on my jaw either side, and a fractured ankle, and the other calcaneus heel bone was broken with quite a major break. And so as the weeks rolled on, this was one of the ones where I at first thought, oh yeah, I'll be back skiing in 6 weeks, no problem, it's just a little break. That rolled into being 3 months and then 6 months that I was on crutches for a good 4 months, and it was almost a year until I could use my feet again properly. And so in that time, because I was I didn't know what to do with the excess amount of energy I had. I couldn't use my feet. And I got very sick of trying to hop around on crutches, especially because I had the other foot that I was hopping on was actually fractured, so it was extremely painful. So I started training my upper body, doing whatever I could with half a foot. I started climbing a little bit, sort of gingerly using one foot, and I really did a lot of upper body training, and it snapped me right back into climbing. When eventually I went back to New Zealand, I went back down to Queenstown, lived with some friends, and I got the spare room that was right up in the attic, and they had built that room into a bouldering cave, so I pretty much could boulder out of my bed. Did a lot of hangboard training, and just to keep myself occupied, I went to the gym and would just top rope because I couldn't fall. I still could only climb on one foot, but I'd just climb up and down and up and down and up and down. And then at the end of the year, 1 year out from the accident, those same friends convinced me to join the National Bouldering Series, which is 4 events around New Zealand, climbing outside, and a pretty respected bouldering comp in New Zealand. And unbelievably for me, I came through and won the series, and that just hooked me on climbing. I was like, wow, for me, I knew I hadn't touched my potential, and I just won a series. So that was really the one instance that really brought me back to climbing, and from then I haven't looked back. I've been dedicated to climbing since, and I'm really, really psyched on it still. I'm really happy that this terrible incident happened, and that it brought me back round to what my real passion is.